Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I am here to talk about the remainder of season 2 of AMC Plus's now. It's on AMC Plus. AMC Plus's Gangs of London. I want to talk a little bit about the remainder of season 2 that I didn't cover, and talk a little bit about season 3 coming up. Now, if you watched my video for episodes 1 and 2 of season 2 of Gangs of London, you're probably like, this motherfucker look a little bit different now. Like, yeah, we've upgraded the production. I've dropped a little bit of weight. I got the beard tightened up and shit. Like, so I'm putting out a little bit better of a product visually for you guys. But I want to start by apologizing. I mean, for any of you who may have been subscribed to this channel for a while, or who came here for my Gangs of London coverage, like, I'm sorry. I intended on doing full coverage of season 2, and I got one vid that's on the site covering, on the channel, covering episodes 1 and 2, but then it all just kind of got away from me. Like, I don't even remember what happened at this point, but it's been so long, I don't even know where I left off at. I didn't even know where I left off at. But then I was digging through the Notes app on my phone, which is where I take notes while I'm watching, and I saw I had notes still in my phone for unrecorded videos for season 2, episodes 3, 4, and 5. And those notes just got buried because after a certain amount of time, I'd rather just like watch an episode again rather than trying to use my notes to refresh my memory. And generally, that certain amount of time is like 2 to 3 days, not 11 months. But so my initial response was to go, yeah, I'm going to need to watch these 3 episodes all over again. I might as well just start over. But then I read those notes and I was ashamed for doubting myself. Like, I read those notes and I was like, shit, I feel like I'm up to speed now. I remember all this. Let's fucking finish this thing out. So that's what I did. I think I watched the 3 remaining episodes in one sitting. And while I gotta admit that I don't think this season was quite as good as season 1, I really enjoyed this show. I thought this was another great season, and I cannot wait for season 3. And look, I understand the show's flawed, right? If anyone wants to complain about how it can skip over vital details or not make sense at times, or how it's overly violent and leans and relies on that violence too much, I wouldn't argue with you, man. It's not perfect, but the show's just for me, man. Like, its flaws don't have a large impact on me because its pros so vastly outweigh them. Like, I always find the story compelling. I always find the characters interesting, scary, both. I don't think this is a wild take to say either. I think this show has the best violence on television. And yeah, I know best violence is a strange term to use, but let me explain myself here. So the action scenes on this show are top-notch, often because they come with real stakes to the characters, not just hypothetical stakes like, oh, if this happens, that'd really suck. No, like, important characters die on this show, often and suddenly. And knowing that fact makes some of these big action scenes have even more weight and makes them even more spectacular or exhilarating. And then the violence specifically, like, I know I know some people will feel like it's too much and unnecessary, and I wouldn't argue that point. But if you're gonna do over-the-top violence, make it look real and be creative. And a lot of shows and films can make it look real, though they sometimes frustratingly choose not to. But is anyone bisecting hands lengthwise? I don't think so. and this show has a complete and total monopoly on epic and creative scenes of violence. And what I don't want to do, though, I don't want to reduce the action on this show to just the nature of the violence. Like, this show has all-time great action / suspense scenes because it does a great job of building its characters and their lives so that when things happen to them, those things have weight. So take, for example, everything involving Luan trying to save his wife this season. All of that stuff was outstanding. Suspenseful, intense. It was exciting. And guess what? I also found out that actress is his actual real-life wife. So if you remember, in the beginning of the season, they had these burial scenes with Luan's wife, and it's raining. And in this article I read, the rain was real, the grave and the coffin were real. And in this interview, the actor who plays Luan said that every time he would open the lid of the coffin, his actual real-life fucking wife would be up to her neck in water. So, like, not only does this show take the time to build up characters to the point where you're really invested in whether or not his wife dies and the impact that could have on him, the impact that not altogether sane Luan could have on the storyline itself, but the actor had the same goddamn concern, and that shit came through on the screen, man. So it's not like it's not only like this was an intense scene to watch for me as an audience member, but it was wild for him to film it too, because that was his real life wife in a real situation, and that added authenticity to his performance, and that came through, and it made those scenes really, really, really work. The scene where Lale escapes captivity, I think it was I want to say it was episode 6. Another incredibly outstanding action sequence, like culminating in a brilliantly creative shot of her killing someone with a flashlight, and the flashlight gets redder as it becomes bloodier, and it's all like really sinister looking. It was so cool. Whoever came up with that, I really hope they got a raise. That was fucking sweet. But that's the kind of creativity this show gives you with the violence, and I appreciate that. It's not just sitting here going, I'm not just sitting here going like, ooh, violence, bad. Like, I can appreciate that they're going, if we're gonna be super violent, we're gonna do it better than everyone else, and that's what they're doing. They do it better than everyone else. So all the actors do a great job on this show too. I'm sorry if you're not watching this, but guy who plays Elliot, Sope Dirisu. I don't know how to pronounce your name, my man. I'm sorry, but you shine as a tortured Elliot. I'm glad to see he's getting a lot more work too. Like, he's gonna be in the upcoming season of Slow Horses, which is a show that I already love. So it's great to learn it's getting an upgrade with adding him to the cast. He did a really good episode of Black Mirror as well. And speaking of actors who've appeared on Black Mirror, which is everybody who's anybody in the UK, Joe Cole, who plays Sean Wallace, he's also great on this show. And it's your standard I want it all mob boss kind of guy, but there's just something that's really captivating about Joe Cole. He didn't play nearly as large of a role on Peaky Blinders as he does on this show, but I found his character very compelling there as well. Like, he does a great job, Joe Cole does, of playing someone who's tortured on the inside and that tends to lash out because of that. Michelle Fairley plays his mother, Marion. We, of course, know her as Catelyn Stark from Game of Thrones, and this, again, is Catelyn Stark, if we're being honest. Like, Michelle Fairley's kind of doing, she's kind of typecast at this point. She takes something of a heel turn here in season 2, but she's so much Catelyn Stark on this show that she even briefly had to raise another woman's child. So, like, they're not even trying to, like, not make her Catelyn Stark. Brian Vernell is Billy Wallace. He's also really starting to catch my eye. Pause. He was great on The Last Kingdom, which is on Netflix, and he played one of I think he played the main big, not the main big bad, but he played one of the bad guys, one of the main bad guys on season 1 of Slow Horses, and I've liked him in all 3 of those things, so I'm going to keep my eye on him. The actors that play Ed, Asif, Luan, Lale, Koba, No complaints about any of the first four of them historically, because they all date back to season 1. And I thought Koba was a great version of your general sinister nemesis. Like, he wasn't really unique in any kind of way, but I thought he did a great job of playing that character in an intimidating way. And then again, having him go out and do things like cut people's hands long ways. Like, I've come to appreciate that character, that type of character, that sinister, evil, just like, I'm just doing terrible shit just to do it. I don't give a fuck. I've come to appreciate that type of character being done right a lot more after having watched Justified City Primeval, because they did a complete shit job of a similar character earlier this year. So real quick though, before I wrap up, I want to do 2 more quick things. First, I want to tell you guys, I want you guys to tell me in the comments what your favorite moments were from this season. Mine is obviously the hand splitting. I just thought that was fucking sick. But Lale's escape scene in episode 6, with the flashlight moment, that was outstanding. So let me know what your faves were. Secondly, I want to talk about why I labeled this video as having spoilers. Now, I don't have any specific spoilers for season 3 or anything. I don't know shit about it, but it did recently start filming, and AMC released a description for season 3. So if you would consider me reading that description to be a spoiler, now is the time for you to check out. This is the spoiler talk. There's not even any talk. It's just gonna be me reading what the description is. So I'm gonna do that in a moment, but I want to do a little bit of brief season 3 talk real quick leading up to that, just so you guys can have an idea of a little bit of the updates, a little bit of the differences between season 2 and season 3. So the show was created by Gareth Evans and Mike Flannery. They were the showrunners for the first season. Someone named Corin Hardy took over as showrunner for season 2, and now this upcoming season is going to have a new pair of creative minds that are going to be at the head here. So South Korea's Kim Hong-sun joins the production as the director of season 3, and then Peter McKenna joins as head writer. Now, I haven't seen any of Kim Hong-sun's work, and he doesn't have too many films to his credit anyway, and that is honestly a pretty big concern for me, with him taking over the direction of a wildly popular, internationally acclaimed show. But I'm going to trust the minds who decided to hire him to do the job. Peter McKenna, however, has a decent list of writing credits. He was the lead writer on Ken, an AMC Plus show that stars Charlie Cox about an Irish family/gang. So I like to think that he can write this show as well. He's also done some writing for The Last Kingdom, another show that I enjoy quite a bit. So, I said new minds coming in, new creative minds for season 3. Hopefully they will keep the show feeling the same. Hopefully it won't feel like a different show, and they'll step things up a notch. So now I'm going to read the description that AMC released for the 3rd season, and then I will see you guys for full coverage whenever that season drops. I think likely, I think they directly said sometime in 2024, obviously. So here we go. Ex-undercover cop turned gangster Elliot is now operating as a top-level criminal alongside the Dumanis. We saw that at the end of season 2. But their business is thrown into chaos when their shipment of cocaine is spiked, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of civilians all over London. The ensuing chaos attracts attention from the authorities, putting the gangs of London under pressure like never before, and the ripple effects, both personal and professional, will have devastating consequences for everyone from the Wallaces to Luan to Lale and the street gangs. This was a targeted attack, and it's only the beginning, but the question is, who did it and why? That sounds kind of similar to the plot line for season 1 with who killed, I don't even remember his name now, Sean Wallace's father, and why. But you also have to throw in some of the intrigue set up at the end of season 2 as well. You got Marion's betrayal of Sean out of her own greed and pride, and how that ultimately cost Billy his arm. We got to deal with some fallout from that in season 3. You got the fact that Asif spared Lale, who's undoubtedly now going to go after Sean for giving her up in the first place. That got that rolling into season 3. So, they've done a great job, I think, of setting up season 3. I'm sure they'll have some surprises. Probably have a new big bad villain as well. Whenever we get season 3, into 24, beginning of 25, whatever it is, I'll be right here to cover it. I will see you guys then. And until then, peace.